Okay, so we are doing 2.6 piecewise functions. In case you are spelling challenged, if some are, I will show you the title slide. But of course, I'm not connected anymore. You know, that's okay, I'm ready for it. So, title slide right there. 2.6 piecewise functions.
No, me either.
Yeah. So piecewise functions, you could write those two equations down as well. We're going to do two different equations first to show you kind of the pieces and parts, no pun intended, of this section. So piecewise function, we're graphing pieces of lines, right? Just little sections of lines, that's it. So the tricky part is we'll graph two little sections of lines as indicated by this problem. Right below here I wrote f of x equals y, just to remind you that f of x equals y. That's what ruined a week of my life, not knowing that. Nobody told me that when I took college algebra. And then I finally realized, and it was like, oh, that's how it works. So just remember f of x equals y. So we're going to graph pieces of these lines, negative 2x plus 3. We're going to only graph that line, and I'm going to show you this right now because I think it'll help you in the long run. So this is the less than sign right here. So we're going to graph on the left side of that equation, x is less than 2. Because it's less than, we graph on the left side. We're going to draw a dotted vertical line for this. And then the bottom one here, because it is greater, we're going to graph on the right side of this line. That's not going to mean a whole lot to you right now, but as we go through the examples, that'll mean more and more. So these two sections are going to make up your quiz on Friday. Tomorrow in class, we're going to do some review on 2.5 and 2.6. 2.5 is graph and calculator stuff. 2.6 is the piecewise functions we're doing today. They will review a little on Friday before the quiz, then take the quiz, and those of you that will be home can peace out. Those of you that are in person, it should be beautiful by Friday, so maybe we'll go have a little extended outside time. Yeah, it's supposed to be 60 tomorrow. Yeah. It's supposed to get super warm at the end of this week. It was 11 degrees when I woke up this morning, and it's going to be 60 tomorrow.
That is so unfair.
Hey, I'm still going. Why?
Because we don't get to come in.
Yeah, you're not. I know. We can do a math break if you want.
I'm good.
You can go roll around in the snow up there. It's good for you. Okay. So write down this one. So leave yourself some space on the one you just wrote because we're going to graph and graph that. If anybody in person wants some graph paper, because I've got some high quality construction paper kind of graph paper. But if you don't have graph paper, you definitely want graph paper. Yep, you're welcome. Especially these problems, it's super handy to have the graph paper. You get infinite graph paper on iPad. We got graph paper reviewed. Okay, so we're just graphing this line. Just to remind you to graph a line, and then we'll kind of build from here. You started graphing lines, I think, in 7th grade. If you don't know how to graph lines by now, you really should. So we started -3, that's a y-intercept, the b of y equals mx plus b. Always have that x term come first, the number part second. So 1/2 x minus 3. So 1 over 2 means either up 1, right 2, or it can mean down 1. Right, so instead of going up, we go down. Instead of right, we go left. So you can do any of that. Right, so I'm going to do both, actually. I'm going to go up 1, right 2. I'm also going to go down 1, left 2. So there are two different things you guys got to get used to. Let's just draw this line, and then we're going to introduce the concept of these intervals. Two different ways I'll show you to graph these intervals. Let's graph this line where x is greater than or equal to positive 2. Okay, so where x is greater than or equal to positive 2. So that x, just think of it like x equals 2. X equals 2 is a vertical line that's going to cross the x-axis at 2. So draw in that vertical line, but draw it in dotted. It'll just make more sense if you do. So we're going to draw that dotted line in at x equals 2. And I didn't draw it dotted. Let's try that again. And no. As I like to tell my wife, I'm not perfect yet. It's a work in progress, right? So we're going to graph this where it's greater than 2. So on the right side of this, greater means we graph on the right. Because greater has an R in the word greater. There are actually 2 R's in greater. So we're only going to graph on the right of the dotted line, which means we need to erase on the other side. This says equal to, that I just erased, says equal to. So when it's equal to, we have a solid dot right there. If it were just greater than, we would have an open dot there. Okay, so that's graphing a part of one line. You ready for your old geometry question? Oh, come on. So what is this called? Where it starts at a dot and goes forever in one direction. What geometrical term is that the definition of? Essentially half a line. I bet you your geometry teachers didn't tell you that definition, because that definition to me makes a lot of sense. It's half a line. Right? It started at a point, go forever in one direction. That's the definition of half a line. Begins with an R.
Array.
Array. Excellent, Henry. This is called array. Starts at a point, goes forever in one direction. Doesn't matter what direction, just goes forever in that single direction. Called array, R-A-Y. How many people raise your hand in person or virtually if you're taking an SAT-like class before you take SAT? If your hand's not up, your hand should be up. Find a class and take it, okay? My SAT score went up 100 points after I took a class, right? And what the part for me in taking that class was really around the strategies of how to take that test. It wasn't the content so much for me because I was relatively smart, as I like to say, just smart enough. So I could do okay on it. It was just my brain getting in the way of getting the knowledge out. So once I learned all those little strategies about, eliminating questions, understanding how the test is structured. So in the math section, for instance, it starts easy and goes hard to the point where you shouldn't be able to do the last couple of questions. So don't waste your time on the questions you're not going to get right anyways, right? You want to focus your time on the first half of that test because those are the questions you should get right. And that's how you build your points higher and higher on that test, is by getting more and more questions correct. Okay, so for me, the strategy of that class was important. The Khan Academy thing, I had you start watching those videos. I haven't even checked in to see how that went yet. I'll do that later. But there's a bunch of strategy stuff as well. So if you are unaware of that Khan Academy assignment, go to the Khan Academy link and look at those videos I had you do. You don't have to do it this section, but you can check if you want, that's fine. I just saw it in person, some big-eyed paranoid looks like, what, we have an assignment? Okay, so I want you to try to graph this one. We're going to graph this one where x is less than or equal to -2. So to start, I want you to do the whole thing. Graph the whole line in a race. Draw in that vertical line at x equals -2. And then if you are totally confuzzled, put your hand up so I can help. This is So, yeah, hold on. I'm just going to show you the very beginning of this. So we've got our little coordinate plane there, and then I'm going to graph in this line. So x equals -2 is a vertical line. For x equals -2, this is a less than sign. So I'm only going to graph on the left side of the dotted line, less than left. That basically, does that help? Okay, good. Hey, Caitlin, you come in person on tomorrow and Friday, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I have a funny golf thing to show you. You'll correct me. It's good. Remind me, because I'll forget.
Okay.
I said it to Finley. He liked it. Not that that's a very high bar to cross, but, you know, it is Finley.
Wait.
You,
How do you figure out the rise over run if it's 2/3?
up 2, right 3, or down 2, left 3.
To right 3?
Yep. So 2/3 is up 2. I think the top tells me to go up or down, and I always go right. One way to think of it, but I say lots of things. So I can go up 2, right 3, or I can go down 2, left 3. So when you're doing that opposite way of counting, you're switching both of them from up to down and left to right, or vice versa. So if I graph this sucker, we'll graph in purple, so we'll start at -1. I know I'm graphing on the left side right here, right? I'm currently on the right side of the blue line, so I'm just like filing that away in my general thought process. So I'm going to go up 2, if I go up 2 and right 3, then I'm like way over here. That's not helpful, right? So I want to go up 2, I'm going to go down 2, left 3. So down 1, 2, left 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 2, left 1, 2, 3. Now the bulk of my dots are on the left side of that line. So I could either draw on the whole line, or I could just start at the line and go this way. I'm going to draw on the whole line and erase, just because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Meet my needs. Now, for some of you, leaving that gap right there is going to make you have a nervous breakdown, but you'll get through it. So I have a solid line on that dotted x equals -2, right? I have that solid dot right here because it's equal to as well. So almost all of these problems, like you saw in that first slide, you're going to be graphing 2 or 3 lines at the same time. Okay, so it gets way more complicated as far as what parts you erase and a little more confusing, but we'll lay it out for you so you can get it totally. So if you ever wrote that down, I'm going to copy this to the next page and graph it. So I got -2x plus 3. So first thing I like to do, just general steps. Doing math problems the same way each time will help you to understand what the hell is going on, which is always a bonus. So I'm going to graph this top line in purple. I'm going to graph the bottom line in green, because it's really easy to get confused as to what color you're using, how you're graphing. That's why this multiple use of colors will help you a bunch. So we're going to start with the purple. but I want to draw in that dotted line next. So here's my coordinate plane, now I want my dotted line. So I'm going to do that one in blue. Set x equals 2. Here's the line. I rhymed, it's okay. You good? Maggie already had a psychotic break. It's good. Get it out of the way early in class. She just shook her head and moved on. Alright, so we're going to start with the purple one. We're going to start at positive 3. The purple one I'm graphing on the left side of the dotted line. So my slope tells me to go down to right 1. Down to right 1, like that. So I can go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. I've got open dot right there, right, because it's just less than. Less than I graph on the left side, so I need an open dot on that dotted line. And then draw your line from that open dot up to the left. Bless you. And don't draw it dotted. Draw it solid. So that's the purple one. Done. Remember, we're going to have another, the way this oftentimes works is you'll have lines like coming off the dotted line at various places. One of the dots has to be open, one of the dots has to be closed, because then it passes the vertical line test and it is a function. So the green line, we're going to start at -1 on the y-axis. And my slope just tells me to go up 1, right 1, or down 1, left 1. I know I have to graph this one on the right side. So if I want to be on the right side of this dotted line, I could just count up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. That's where it starts. Up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, like that. And just draw my line. So we have one open and one closed dot. If we have both dots closed right here, it would not be a function because that vertical line would hit 2 x values, right? It can only hit 1 x value for it to be a function. So you have to have one open, one closed dot. Now if you have extra little dots, like I've got this extra green dot here, if you have an extra green dot here, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you cross them off or not. I just will be able to look and see that you graphed it in the proper spot in review. So you don't have to be all psychotic about erasing, but you just don't want any of the line to be, the green line to be on the left side of that thing. Okay, give me fist to 5 on your level of understanding, both at home and in person.
How do I do like 3.5?
Yeah, you gotta pick. Don't be a pansy. Pick. All right, so that's pretty good. You guys are smarter than last period. I will keep to that always. I like to say to insult last period in the hopes that they'll do better. They do fine too. You guys just do better. Okay, write this one down. And then 8th period, it's a whole other story. It's because I have Garrett. Say no more. I just hope the Buccaneers win just so I can see Maggie and Garrett cry, because that makes me feel good inside. I know. You need to, like, if they lose, you got to take a picture of an actual tear and email it to me so I can see. It'll warm my heart.
And if they win, I promise I'll wear my Chiefs.
Are there also Chiefs fans? Good, yes. Any Chiefs fan out there, I want to see tears. It could be tears of joy, too, right? They could win. Tears of sadness. Should be tears either way. I'll tell you, if the Browns won the Super Bowl, I would probably, like, break down crying for multiple hours.
I think the entire state of Ohio won.
Yes. I remember when the Browns got stolen from Ohio by Baltimore, and seeing this, like, grizzled Cleveland cabbie guy who was, like, just like crying like crazy, and they're interviewing him on camera, and he's like, you know, like that little he can't even speak kind of talk. I can't believe they stole my chain. Just crying.
LeBron James went to the Lakers in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like, you know how you like can't technically smile for your like license photo?
Yeah.
So in front, behind the camera that they took the license photo with, they put a picture of LeBron in the Lakers jersey, and they were like, here, now you want to smile.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to copy this to the next page. And we'll graph this little joyous problem. Get my getting my coordinate plane down here. First thing you do, coordinate plane. Second thing you do, drawing your dotted line. Our dotted line this time is going to be at -2. We'll do the top one in purple, the bottom one in green. The green one we're going to graph on the right side of the dotted line because it's greater. The purple one up top we'll graph on the left side because it's less. Okay, it's good to write those things because it's just a visual reference. You can look back and be like, oh yeah, graph the one on the right. Makes it easier. Okay, so purple one first. We'll start at -4. We're going to go down 1, right 1. Now I'm graphing that on the left side of the blue dotted line. So going down and right, not going to help me, right? So instead I'm going to go up and left, and I'm graphing on the left side here, so I'm going to get at least 3 points on the left side. And draw that line in. It's So I went down 1, right 1. Down is negative, right is positive. So I have to go 1 positive direction, 1 negative direction for it to be a negative slope. So if I go up, that's positive, left is negative. Positive times negative, negative. So I'm doing a negative slope, doing it like that. If I go down, that's negative, right is positive. Negative divided by positive is negative. Okay? So again, you don't really have to cross off these little points, but they are not part of your little graph. So we're good on that. We have a solid dot because it is equal to up here. So just make sure you understand that's a solid dot right on that dotted line. Now we'll graph the green one. We start at +1. And this slope tells me to go down 1, right 1 again. Or I can go up 1, left 1. I'm going to go up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1, because I'm trying to get to that blue dotted line. So that's when I went up and left. On the green dotted line, there is no equal to right here, so that's got to be an open dot right there. Remember, if they're both closed, it's not a function anymore, and I'll take points off. So on this quiz on Friday, with a problem like this, I can't imagine there's a test generator question that's going to ask you this. So just expect your quiz question to look like something like that. So you're going to have to do it on paper, you're going to have graph paper. So if you don't have graph paper and you want to take a piece home, those of you who are in person, because you won't be in person tomorrow, you can do so, no problem. And I'll have graph paper for those that are going to be here in person for the quiz on Friday. But I want you to do a problem like this, and then I also want you to do a problem where we're going from a graph like this to the equations in the upper left here. Okay, so we'll get there, just not yet. Okay, I want you to try this entire one on your own. whole damn thing. Ask me questions if you need to. I'm just going to copy this and give you a little... So the bottom one, I'm going to graph on the left side of x equals 1. Top one, I'm going to graph on the right side. So draw your coordinate plane, your x and y axis, and draw a vertical dotted line at x equals 1. And then you decide how you want to graph the lines. You could just graph the line and just draw the whole thing and erase later. Sometimes that's easier if you're confused at all, to just graph the whole line and erase it after. Or you could just graph the part of the line you need, which is a little, you have to understand what's going on pretty well to do it that way. Do your virtual hand greasing when you're done, so I know. This is a good lesson to go back to and listen if you get confused. There's a lot of dead space in this lesson, but you can go until I put a new problem up and scroll through and listen to the explanation again if you need to. Ella, question? Or are you done? Done? Give me a thumbs up if you're done, or tell me. All right, cool. Okay, good. Thank you for doing the virtual hand raise. Good. And if that helps you to write that too, like up one, right two, it's not, you could write that for a little bit. Just waiting for a couple more people online to finish. Still got a couple working in person too.
I don't know my left and right. That is my biggest issue right now.
It took me so long to learn my left from my right too. Don't feel bad. Yeah, how did you, so what do you use, like what is your strategy to figure it out for sure?
I like hold up which hand I write with.
So you
and if
write
it's my
with your
right
right
hand, then I
hand?
know it's my right
Yeah.
hand, yeah.
Yeah, if you're dyslexic at all, the A-hole teachers, like that pissed me off so much. They're like, oh yeah, which one's the L? I'm like, if I'm dyslexic, I don't know which one's the damn L, you jackass. Like, give me a strategy that works, you know?
When I first started driving, I also am terribly directionally challenged. And so now I figured it out, obviously, because I only go to like a handful of places
Right.
constantly. But, like my sister would be giving me directions, and she'd be like, turn right, and I would just go left, without even hesitating. She'd be like, Maggie, that's left.
Yeah, when I'm giving people directions, I always have to sit in the front seat, because I'll be like, go right, and I'll like point to the right. And then I'll always like, do I go left or right? Just go whichever way I want. Just do that. I don't know.
All right, looks like almost everybody's done, so I'll start doing this in person here. So we're graph the purple one first. So we start at positive 2. I'm graphing this one on the right side. And then I go up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. So if I just draw this line now, right, I said one method is to just draw the whole damn line, and then I'm only graphing on the right side of the dotted, so then you can erase after. So if you're confused at all, this is a good way to do it. And then I have the equal to right here, which means I have a closed dot on the dotted line. Okay, so that's the purple one. The green one, I start at -2, and I go down 1, right 2. I want to graph this one on the left side of that line, so I'm also going to go up 1, left 2. And again, if you like this method of drawing the whole line and erasing after, do it. That's fine. So I graph this one on the left side, the left side of that line, which means I want to erase the right side. And I need a big fat open dot because there's no equal to right there on the green.
Fake news, no, I'm just kidding, sorry.
Do you like that golf one I sent
I
you?
did.
Isn't that good?
The origins of cussing.
Yes, I love
That's
it.
the truth, that's the truth.
Lavelle, what's happening?
Nothing much, how are you?
You want to come say hello to my class?
I do.
Here, you guys look into the camera. We got Lavelle in person live.
There we
There
go.
you go, there you are, there you are.
Hi, class.
Say hi to Lavelle.
Hi.
Oh, I know, they're all cute.
Happy
like,
learning. Happy
See, this
learning.
is how you want to see Lavelle, not when he's pulling your ass out of class,
There
right?
you go.
The happy, smiling Lavelle is the guy you want to see. Of course, you can't see the smile.
That's why we're here, we're actually gonna get Mr. Evans out. You gotta go.
Yeah, that's good. I'm in trouble again. I didn't do it, I swear. That's what I said when I walked past Steve this morning. I didn't do it. Okay. So, I don't want to do you guys want one more, or are you good?
No.
I'd rather have you practice the homework and spend the time struggling through that. We got to do these next two, and then we're done. So we're going from the graph to the equation, so go in the opposite direction. On your quiz, you have one of each. You have one where you have to go from the equations to the graph, and you'll also have one where you go from the graph to the equation. Maggie?
Can we use that, like, cheat sheet or kind of use our graphing calculator?
I can't control anything. If I had you all in person, you would get absolutely nothing the entire year to include equations. No cheat sheet ever, including the final. I can't be mean. So you can use whatever the hell you want.
Like, no, just the one that, like, tells us how to use the stupid graphing calculator.
Yes, you should use that, right?
I will be.
Yeah, that's good.
It's in order, right?
Yeah, I literally can't read.
So this order pair right here, it goes by twos.
Okay,
So
okay.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The whole graph goes by twos.
Okay.
This order pair right here is 2, 6. That's where it switches from blue to red.
Okay.
And the green dotted line goes through, that's x equals +2. So you could make your graph go by twos, you could make your graph go by 1, it doesn't really matter. I would use the same scale as this because it'll be less confusing. And if you forgot to take your virtual hand raise, take that down for me, please. Thank you. So if we're writing an equation in slope-intercept form, the first thing I'm going to write, is slope-intercept form. Because then I know where to plug stuff in.
You want us to write that graph down?
I would definitely write that graph down.
Okay, wait.
Actually, I should do, I'm going to match the colors. Because that's going to be better.
I'm getting there.
You getting stressed out just around the graph?
Just
I like it.
drawing, yeah.
I just
Because
want
I
to
feel
learn.
like take a couple steps ahead, and a couple steps ahead are stressing me out.
Yes. You know what you do when you get stressed out by the couple steps ahead? Take one step at a time, right? One step at a time. It's like I'm trying to encourage you to think ahead, but then you freak out because I encourage you to think ahead. So don't freak out about it. It's supposed to be comforting to think ahead. Be like, okay, I just got that in my head a little bit. Okay. So this slope of the red line, because it just works better if we kind of talk about this along the way. I go up and to the right, so I go up 1, 2, 3. I know I just went up 6, right, but the scale's the same, so I can just count squares. I went up 3 squares, and I'm going to the right 1 square. So for the red, right here, my slope is up 3, right 1. Could I write that as just 3x? Hell yeah, I could write that as just 3x. But if you get confused at all, doing the rise and run of the slope will help you to understand. Now, I need the b for the red line. I have no idea where that crosses the y-axis, but I can just count out my slope. So from this dot right here, I went up 3, right 1. I can also go down 3, left 1. And that line would have crossed the y-axis at 0. So again, if it helps you to understand, to put that plus 0 right there, go ahead. That's fine. So I could write it like this, y equals 3 over 1, x plus 0. I could also write it like this. What part? So, when I counted out my slope, I went up 3, right 1. That means I can go down 3, left 1. And then I'm at the spot where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, so just counting until you get to that y-axis so you know what your b is.
Wait, hold on.
We have some anxiousness going on in here.
I'm just like saying single words.
I know.
Put them together.
Makes a challenge to understand, but I'm game.
So, do you have to go up by 2 on the thing? Because mine goes productive.
You can go up by 1, it's fine. And just count the squares.
Yeah.
Because I could still, yeah, it'll work out. If you go by 1s, you can go by 1s. If you go by 2s, it'll just be easier. Okay, let's do the blue line. So if I count out the slope of the blue line, I go up 1, right 1, which is technically up 2, right 2, but it reduces to 1 over 1. So my slope for the blue line is just 1 over 1x. And my blue line, it's really easy to tell where that one crosses the y-axis, crosses at positive 4, so you just write plus 4. So I could have written that equation like x plus 4 as well. That's fine. So I really cannot make it any easier for you, so you'll have one almost identical to this on your quiz. So if you're a smart student, you write on quiz by this problem, because honestly, I can't really make it a whole lot easier. Yeah, if you're kind of freaking out, confused a little bit, that just raises your anxiety level a little bit, but guess what? You got homework time, you got access time, you can ask all those questions. So like I said, I'm totally fine if you write your equations like that. If you simplify them down and you write them like these two, that's fine too. No worries. Okay. But I think especially if you're confused at all, the more information the better. So the two equations where I have the arrows by them, I think is probably going to make it easier for you in the long run. Alright, let's do last one. We're almost there. We just got a person in person trying to finish it off. Oh, look at this little beauty.
No.
Enjoy that one. Okay, draw the graph. For sure, if you want another. These ones are good to practice multiple times. You want a couple?
Oh, no, I have that.
Oh, you got it. Okay. You good? You want another extra? Okay. Anybody else? Graph paper? You need some more? Yeah.
Oh, God, this makes me so upset.
Yep.
I don't even know where to start.
You're good.
Wait. Oh, just kidding, I'm stupid.
No,
The
no.
green line was blocking the 1 from the 10, and I was like, how did we go from 8 to 0?
Yes, exactly. Altering the laws of space and time. Don't mind me.
I don't even know where to start.
I knew this guy freshman year at CU. You could just guess what he was on. Let's just start there. At the end of our dorm hall freshman year, there was a full-length mirror. You could like check out your outfit before you walk down to the dining hall or whatever.
I love that.
Every single day, he would try to walk through that mirror. He's like, it's going to work today, I believe, and he'd be like, don't hit his head. So I got to watch him hit his head every day for a whole school year, which is entertaining. He needed to hit his head much harder to be more normal, but, you know. Do your virtual hand raise once you have the graph down, just so I know when I can start here. Because I know it's kind of a pain in the neck to draw this graph.
Wait, there's 3 lines here?
3 lines, yep.
Oh,
Oh, the red one?
We got the red one counts.
Oh, God. That
The
was
red one in the middle.
color. Are you kidding me?
Okay, that's why you got multiple colors. It's super helpful, especially on these problems, to use the different colors, have the colors correspond to the writing, just so you don't get all confuzzled.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
First one I'm going to do is a red one once I see, so we got almost all the hands up. Allie, you good? Emily, Myra, Delia, you good? Kaylin, you good? We still have people in person frantically writing stuff down, so don't worry if you're one of those at home. I'm going to graph that, do the equation for the red line first. Yeah. When you think of the red line, I want you to think, where does it cross the y-axis? Tell me, anyone? Where's it cross the y-axis? 4, right? So it crosses at 4. So in red, I'm just going to write y equals 4. That's the equation of that line. It's a horizontal line that crosses the y-axis at 4. Now my green dotted lines, I only graph the part of that line in between -2 and +2. So we have to write that interval. Here's how you do it. You'll always put the smaller number on the left, less than or equal to, bigger number on the right. No, these are 2 different things. Right, so the first part is the equation, the second part is only the part of that line we graph. And this is how you show in between -2 and +2. So if you want to write that, that means in between -2 and +2. That's a good idea to write that. This part right here means in between -2 and +2. Okay? Making some good noises.
I wish I had those, like, erasable,
Oh,
Erasable pens?
Colored pencils?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't say the word, but.
That's okay.
Aren't erasable pens a thing too?
Erasable pens are a thing. I always get that one pain in the ass student who's like, I say math is a pencil subject, you need to be able to erase, and then they write an erasable pen just to be a pain in the ass, and I just take massive points off. 2 can play that game. Yeah.
Was the -2 and the +2 given, or did you have to figure it out?
I got the -2 from right here and the +2 from right there. Because that's where those green dotted lines are.
So how do you not go,
So this one, if I read it this way, it's actually greater than -2. Right? So this is written like a compound inequality. I could write it separated out.
Oh.
Like that?
I get it.
Yeah? But I just wrote it together because this says x is greater than -2. X is greater than -2. Right? This says x is less than +2. X is less than +2.
why did you have to write it so complicated?
This is easier to write it than that way.
It was hard to understand.
Well, you'll get used to it. Amanda's getting annoyed with me because I'm writing it in weird ways. It's okay. It won't be the first time, Amanda, trust me. And she's like, yeah, I know. Okay, so let's do the blue line next. Okay? So we got to count out the slope. It goes up 1, 2. So up 2, left 1. so that's plus 2. So if I write y equals, actually, let's write that one above. So if I write y equals up to right 1, so 2 over 1 x.
Isn't it over 4?
So up to, that's the same thing as up 4 right 2, which reduces to 2 over 1. So I went up to left 1, so this has got to be a negative. So when your scale is the same, this is confusing to some, but super helpful once you understand. So both x and y's go by 2's. I can just count squares. It's so much easier than thinking, well, I went up 4, but that's actually 2 squares. You get all weird, right? So up 2 squares, left 1 square. So negative 2x. Is that slope? So if I count down 2 and right 1, I end up at 0. So my y-intercept of that one is 0. Okay? I graphed on the left side of negative 2 for my blue line. So x is less than negative 2 is what goes up here. Right, I'm graphing on the left side of negative 2. Yep.
How do you know if it's just less than or if it's less than or equal to?
So when I do these compound ones like I did here, I always make the one that's compound equal to's, and then I never have to think about it. And the other ones are just either less or greater. So you can't double up your equal to's. You can only have one of them. I find it easier to just do it in the middle like that.
Hold on.
Do you get Sophie's question?
Yes, I understand the
Okay.
question, but I don't understand your answer.
Okay.
Because I like to use the word together to ask the question. With the red line, how is that different than the blue line? Is it because it's straight, like across?
Are you talking about the equations of those lines? The equations of the lines are different because this one doesn't have it's got 0 for the slope, right? So that's why I don't have the mx part of that equation.
I don't know that.
Okay, so that's not your question.
No. I'm confused about how you said, she said, like, oh, how do you choose if you put greater than or not? And then you said it's a compound, but how do you know it's a compound?
So this is a compound.
Yeah.
Let me just erase some of this extra stuff here. So when it's like negative 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to some other number, that's a compound inequality. Two inequalities written as one. That's what a compound inequality is. I always make the one that's compound my equal to, and I make the other one not equal to. That's it. Because I can't double up those points, right? Because if I made this equal to right up here, then it wouldn't be a function, because that'd be equal to on negative 2 here, below, and above. We just need more practice. You still have that look of utter confusion. It's okay. Once you get to your homework, just keep asking questions. You'll be like, oh, I totally get it now. It's no problem. All right, purple one. So we go up to right 1. So up 2, right 1. Yes, I'm going up 4, right 2. Right? I'm just counting squares. 4 over 2 reduces to 2 over 1. So you can just count out squares. So my purple one, I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. It was too short to write it up top. Y equals 2 over 1x. And if I count out my slope down to left 1, I end up at 0 again. Yep.
And you can still write these like y equals 2 over 1x.
Yeah.
You don't need the 0.
You don't have to, yeah, yes.
So, for the blue one, could you also do that, but just have it be negative 2x?
Yes.
Okay.
You could write for the blue one, you could write y equals negative 2x, totally fine. The purple one, you could write y equals 2x, that's totally fine also. So, the purple one, right here, is graphed on the right side of 2. So greater, right? Look, it makes a greater than sign. Yay.
Did you
So-
just add that at the beginning
Well, you have to have the compound thing for the red line in the middle.
So you have to write.
So you want to write it, instead of writing it like this, you want to write it like this. Write it together, you'll get over it. Amanda's fighting me on it, I'm like, no, write it together, it's no big deal. Small number on the left, big number on the right, it's always less than or equal to. It makes it, like, once you get used to it, it's no big deal, but Amanda's not happy with me right now, I have to write it like this. She'll get there, I got faith. Okay, so that's it, that's all we got. We are going to go and do number 12 from your homework last night, okay? Number 12 from your homework, stat edit, put in this list.
This I know. Oh, I already did that.
You're happy we're spending another day on these topics tomorrow, right? So, with our compressed Algebra 2 mess that we're doing the whole year in a semester, you're going to have to grind on stuff like this. Normally we spend 2 days on each of these topics. We're spending, instead of 4 days, 3 days. That's fine. Plus we'll review a little before the quiz as well. So what's super helpful, you guys, on Friday, generate some questions on things that you're confused by, so you can ask me specific questions when you come in for help for access time. Remember too, when you come in for access time, there's a little QR code at the beginning, at the entrance of each room and the exit. You scan it on the entrance, it gives you a timestamp of when you came into my classroom in case somebody's COVID positive, we know who needs to quarantine. And then you check out so we know when you left, and I have to make a seating chart when you come for access time. It's just all kinds of fun. Good times, have it all. So throw that thing in the graphing calculator if you need help on that. If you don't, you can just start working on the homework. That's fine too. If you want another little graphing calculator shot in the arm, here it is. This is talking about metric tons of pork, because that's normal. Just wait till we get to that problem that talks about cheese. I'm going to eat way too much cheese. Messed up. This thing. I'm just grabbing that problem. Here's this here. Maybe.
Should we do all of the problems?
No, make sure you read in the description the problems on the worksheet, because there are certain problems you don't know how to do on that worksheet, and this is hard enough without me bashing your confidence in that way. So when I did this thing, let me copy this to a new page. I used, and I'll be specific when I give you a problem like this on your quiz. I'll say like use 0 for the year 2000. So I just switched the years to 0 through 7, which is why it's like this. If you open up your little graphing calculator instruction thing, we're at the to enter data. If you need to clear your list, that's how you clear your list as well. And next, your plot should already be on. We need to adjust our window, okay? So if you follow through these calculator instructions, it'll kind of lead you through how to do these problems. So we're going to adjust the x values and the y values. So to do that, we hit window, and I already have it for you, so you can just use those numbers. -1 for x min, 8 for x max, 40,000 for y min, 55,000. Just make sure you have the correct number of zeros. Otherwise, you won't be able to see your dots. I'll come back to the screen. I just want to delete the equation. Lots of tears are shed in Algebra 2, Maggie, don't worry. You get that guttural, full cry, you know, where you're like sobbing.
Freshman year, you were like, you will cry in Algebra 2. I was like, oh, well,
Now you understand, don't you?
yeah, I don't want to cry. I kind of just want to
Scream? You
Yeah,
can scream too.
That's how I feel right now.
If you've never done that prime eagle scream, you need this,
No, I
or the calculator.
I just don't have any of that, like, after.
This stuff, don't worry, you don't need it. The stuff at the bottom here, don't even worry about that. Your calculator is doing other stuff. You just need this. Now we're going to do the linear regression. So we just did the window, there's the linear regression, stat calc number 4. And then you go down to store a regression equation. And then once you're there, you can look at that right there, the store regression equation, bars, y bars, enter 4 times. Yeah.
This is where I get.
Oh, so you need this direction here, Lydia. You need page 7, this one. So you do stack out 4. So you got the lin-reg thing like that right up there. Can you see that? See that that's got a Z right there? Is there something else in front of that? Okay. So you hit delete, it deletes what's under the cursor. And then that, did you want one now hit enter? Can you get? Yeah. Okay, so let me get there real quick. So bars, y bars. There's my equation. Yeah. So my equation for this thing is y equals 2053x. You'll be doing this very thing on your quiz. Plus 39,759. Then our R value is 0.99, which is strong positive. So I want to show you how to turn this R thing on in your calculator. So if you have your calculator, can you just grab Maggie to do it for her too? Thank you, Amanda. Sophie already did it yesterday. So to turn on this R squared and R thing, here's what you do. You hit second 0, so it'll bring up that catalog thing. So you guys at home should be doing this. Bust out your graphing calculator, hit second 0. So even if you're not following along, just bust out your calculator, it'll make your life easier. Now I want to hit alpha, and the button right below math, x to the negative 1, and you have to hit it twice. I don't know why, it's irritating, but you do. So alpha, x to the negative 1, are you good? Okay. And then we're going to go down to where it says diagnostic on. So just arrow down until you get to diagnostic on. My calculator, as you know, scrolls annoyingly. So it goes. Diagnostic on, hit enter. It'll say diagnostic on. You have to hit enter again until it says done. Then, if you go second enter twice, it should bring up your linear regression. And when you hit enter again, you should see the r squared VR. If you didn't get that, put your hand up and I will help you. Okay, you're good. You're good. So now second enter. Again, second enter. Now enter. And then you can see the r squared VR. Seems like easy. So you go alpha D, alpha T, and down here,
I get it, okay.
and down, and do second enter, You did it like 8,000 times, and now there it is. Now hit enter, and you'll see the result. Oh, yeah, very cool. Okay. No problem. Are you good, Henry? Did you get it? So now go second enter a bunch of times until you see your linear regression. You got to hit second enter each time. Again. Don't hit enter in between, just second enter until you see. There you go. Now enter. And then it brings up your r squared and r, so you don't have to go through that process anymore. Okay? Yep. No. It still does that annoying stat cal 4. Oh no. Was that on there before?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so you go down here. And then here, look. No, look. I'm going to go right there. Yep. Right arrow to y bars. Yep. And then enter 4 times. Bam. Of course. So it still has that weird Z crap in there. So you just would have to go, do you know how to fix it? Go second, number 2. And then if you go back there and do that sucker, now enter should work. Okay, so we're still finishing this problem. It's a good time. So they asked us to, let me actually go back here. They asked us to predict in 2025. So given that year 2000 is 0, year 2025 is 25. So I want to go through, again, following our calculator directions here. Now we already got correlation automatic. Now we need to reset where the table starts. To do that, I hit second window. So I go second window, and I want my table to start at 25. So we're good, and then you hit second graph to see what number it is. So second graph. So at 25, we get this number right here, 91,088 metric tons of pork. That would fill up Monarch High School with pork multiple times.
That's so disgusting.
I know, just have that visual. You can thank me for your visual. Just wait till we fill up the school with cheese. That might make you happy. Happier than pork.
It makes my dog happy.
Yeah,
My
it's
favorite
true.
love cheese.
The dogs would just come flying to Monarch High School. Yes. Oh, geez, when you did the 25 thing, can you hit y equals and show me, or double check that your equation is that in the y equals? Okay. Next thing we're going to check is stat and then enter. I'm going to actually, I wanted to keep the video going, but let me just